G'day, good morning and good evening to you. I hope you're well wherever you sit and listen. This is a medical cannabis show that's all about that respects the law and promotes safe use of medical cannabis. I won't be talking about any unsafe use, or I will be talking about it, but I won't promote it, and I won't promote illegal activities. So if you're into any of them, I'm sorry, I don't promote them. But I just going to show some slides, and today's an open topic, so I haven't got anything prepared. So I'm hoping there's just going to be a few questions that are going to rock up, and we're going to start the topic. Like it has in the last few weeks, it was quite, yeah, it was good. Stumbling over my words, sorry. All right, Aussie Auto says he won't be in today, but he's loyal to the soil. That's what he reckons. Just while I wait for everybody to rock up, start hopefully asking a question so we can get somewhere. So if you're listening and re-watching this, you might want to skip a bit, or at least skip till maybe some slides start, I suppose, because I'll run for at least 15-20 minutes if no one asks any questions, and I'll try and do some sort of a show, but I'd rather be here for the audience and see what they want, see if I can help out people. So, okay. I'll just wait for a bit. Critter, how you going, Critter? How you going, Vin? G'day and g'day. Today's an open topic again, so if you've got any questions, please drop them, or suggestions, or anything that's in your mind. First one I've not missed in a while. Okay. Very good, Critter. Do you have any questions, mate? Anything? Hey, Jeff, there you go. Today's an open topic, Jeff. So what's something that we can talk about? You've always got some interesting things that I can explore. So open topic on medical cannabis. And like I said before at the start, I just support legal activities and promote safe uses of it. So that's this. I'll be going through the organic side of it and not the synthetic and marketing side of it. So it's just the safe use of it. How you going, Matt? Matt Rob. It's a open topic, mate. So if you've got anything that's on your mind or any questions, please drop them in the chat, and I'll start with something because I'm not sure really where to start at the moment. I've got some stuff I can bore you with, but I'd rather work with you guys. And if you've got anything that's unclear to you, maybe I can shed some light by showing some slides and some explanations. All right. Well, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of every day. How you going? Questions. I'll see if I've got something to show. Small tubes. There you go, small tubes. Today's an open topic, so I haven't got anything prepared. So if you guys have got anything that you'd like me to discuss, or that's a bit unclear, please put it in the chat, and I'll try and show some slides and explain it a little bit better. Because otherwise, I'm just going to show some slides that you guys mightn't be interested in. Critter's got a question. How long before harvest do you stop foliar feeding? Well, nutrient cycling in the plants will continue until it doesn't want to uptake anymore. So there's a few ways you can end it. How you going, Ned Kelly? By depleting it of nutrients, and that's usually starving it, and then you'll see it'll finish itself and that might tendency to herm out because it's going to stress. And if a plant hasn't finished its cycle, it wants to reproduce. So that's one way of doing it. So it's a stress way, usually just by stopped feeding. But if it's at the end of its cycle, that's really good. So the end of its cycle, if its substrate's still very heavy with nutrients, there's a chance that it can still uptake those nutrients. So when you know that your cultivar's at the end of its cycle, you'd want to deplete the rhizosphere just around the roots of its nutrients, so it limits its uptake. So therefore, it's going to finish naturally. So if your cultivar is a day 60, usually, and you'd stop it at probably day 40, depends on your feed, if you're organics or if you're synthetic, because synthetic you can go a bit longer. And also in deep water culture and hydroponics you can go a bit longer because they affect it real fast, where in soil and other mediums it takes a lot longer to get to the roots. So in general, I'll talk about living soil. So that's, and I hope you guys are using living soil because that's one of the healthiest. Because with hydroponics or water fed, you've got to give it some sort of synthetics. You can do vermicastings. There is a way, actually, I'll see if I can find that for you because it's really cool. It's a way to organically do hydroponics. I was amazed when I saw it. So yeah, I'll have a look for that. So day 40 to day 44, you'd stop your feeding if you want to pick on day 60, something around those lines. But you can work within, you can go a little bit longer sometimes, and you'll know from the smoke, if you blow out the smoke and the ash is black, I think that's 500 ppm. I've pulled mine. I've done an early pull at that. And then the grey was 300, and then the white ash was under 100 ppm. So I haven't released that video yet. I'm flushing. So to get that's right, I didn't explain. So to explain all that stuff, that's the experiments that I've done in the past. And it was, I'm trying to think back now. It was about 12 odd days before I used to pick. And I used to do it at that. If you want to do a heavy water, like GML, the heavy water flush, where you just pump heaps of water through it, you've got to do about 15 times your normal load of water to actually get it flushed to that cycle. Or you can let your cultivar finish right to the end and just very mildly not feed it. So like a salt flush, you'd call it. So that's the two techniques. I hope that answers your question. How long before harvest do you stop foliar feeding? Probably went into a bit full on, but I hope that answers your question. Yeah, and I'm going to look for that chart because it's really cool. The hydroponics, it might be nutrient cycling. All right, I'll go. What should we be feeding for this time of year? What should we be feeding? Depends if you're in bloom or if you've got pistils coming out of your plants. I'll just quickly answer that, then I'll look at this chart. If you've got pistils coming out of your plants, that means that you should be feeding it flowering nutrient, or be into your organic flowering solution, which would be Insac Fraz, and try and heavily go with that side of it. Or if you haven't got pistils, that means it's still vegging, and you can feed it your veg nutrients, your nitrogen, heavy nitrogen cycling stuff, your organics, with heavy nitrogen, your kelp and your neem, cake, other nitrogen efficient inputs. Or I'll look for this foliar feeding chart. Where would it be under? So plant science. I'll try there first. Under nutrients, mineral nutrition. All right, I'll share it because we're sort of talking about feeding and nutrients. So no, not slides. Present. Share screen. Entire screen. Allow. So you're going to see nitrogen. No, we'll go through this. So in here, I hope to find that little chart. Plant nutrients. So they're the essential elements that a plant medical cannabis plant requires for its growth. So 95% of them come from the air, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. That's your primaries, and then your secondaries, your cations is your CalMag, nitrogen, phosphorus. Then your anions in your secondaries is phosphorus, sulfur, silicon. Silicon's a quasi element and sort of it runs a bit floating now. They've changed things around. And then your micros, well, I'm not going to read all them. There's, I think, 11. What are we into? Flushing. Maybe I should show that video. There's the percents. That's an old school from 2010. They've just done another one in my last soil science class of 2022 it was, where it's changed. So that 6 has gone down there to 5. But you can see nitrogen, 1.5%, then potassium, then calcium. So they're the main things. So that's only what the plant needs. So that's so little. So most of it comes from the air. So when it comes to flushing and nitrogen and nutrients cycling, it's very, very little. So as long as you've got these three elements going well, good clean air, and if you're going to pump them with light and with nutrients, you want to make sure your carbon, which is your carbon dioxide, is higher, and then it'll complete a nice cycle for you, getting your heterosis or your hybrid vigor. Try and skim through this to get to it. How to classify macro and micros. No, come on. I'm not going that heavily into it. What do these nutrients do? No. Oh, here we go. How to find out what your plants need. So there's a few ways of doing it. These are a few different techniques. So your aeroponics with a stone, it just bubbles sort of gas into the rhizosphere. Hydroponics is your roots are directly into it. Nutrient film technique is like a nutrient fiber cloth that you put down that holds moisture and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. I'll put some of them in living soil before. And your ebb and flow, which means that it pumps it up, the water flows up, and then the water flows down at probably once every few hours. I think it's going to come up here. What is the minimum requirements for plants to survive by William Knott in the 19th century? And then this has all changed as we've gone on and through the years. It's come up, and all of these elements have gone higher. So that's why they've found them to be was 19, and now it's back to 17. Nitrogen deficiency. No, come on. I thought it was getting to that hydroponics photo. Soil pH, availability to nutrients. Yes. Talked about cations the other week, anions, chlorine deficiencies. That's an interesting chart. Nutrient concentration in plant tissues. So this is kind of what we're talking about flushing. So if you've got too much concentration when you harvest, you'll find there's going to be too much dark smoke, which is going to give you a throat hit and your headaches and other effects that you wouldn't normally have, because you'd be vaporizing phosphorus and nitrogen and stuff like that, where you don't want that. You want to limit that. So you want the tissue to be dying off. So when you're harvesting, you want all the plant to be nearly have eaten itself and heaps of brown and be looking quite yuck. You want it to be getting so close that the buds, the hair, the sugar leaves, little leaves that come out of the buds, that they're starting to tip out, that they're starting to die off. Then you know that it's pretty much deleted of all of its nitrogen, that it's all of its cycling, because DNA even has nitrogen, has phosphorus in it. So they can, plant tissue will try and stay alive and complete its cycle. So it's relevant. Application of fertilizers, no. Roots, nutrition, DOFI, no. Summary, no. Solubility chart, that's for feeding. Yeah, that's a good point. The solubility with your cations. So if you put in deionized water, it's going to have a lot of negative available sites. So as you pass your deionized water past your substrates, it's going to want and jump a cation on, because there's this little position sitting there with a negative and it's just got nothing there. So it wants to attract something, and it goes with the bonding strength. So it starts off with the sodium there, it'll have that. Then if there's a magnesium, it'll bump it off. Then if potassium's there, it can pump it off, and calcium, it can bump off and hog its position. So that's another way for flushing as well. Deionized or reverse osmosis water. That'll do, get back to it. Thanks for your question, guys. I'll keep going in chat. How are you going, Mick? Mick S. Can herms be genetic? Oh, yes, my friend, they sure can. There's a heterozygotic, which means that the cultivar you have has a lot of incompatible genetics. And there's homozygotic, which means that the cultivar you have has a lot of stability into it. So what breeders try and do is you want to inbreed your things and try and build up your homozygotic capabilities, which is going to stabilize the plant, meaning that your genetics with, see if I can show you, there's not many questions. Oh, Lene, how you going, Lene? Good morning. Cheers. So can Herm speech, let's pull up my genetic file. See if I've got stuff on homozygotic genetic. All right, share screen. Wow. This is something I was going to do a few weeks ago with, remember, with the genetics, with the breeding thing. I was probably going to go into this heavily. Pollination now, what do we want to look at? Homozygous, so inbreeds, breeding techniques, marker-assisted breeding, chromosome mutations, no. Well, it might be in there because it might be talking about how to breed them out. Are mutations random or adaptive? As a test to do it, we do it by doing you plant 4 seeds and see what happens. And if one of them come up with a trait, that means that you got a dominance, a recessive mutation, and if 3 of them come up with it, it means you got a dominance. That's not what I was after, though. What's this going here? There's a lot of cool shit there. This might explain it. Here. I suppose I'll just explain out of this. So this is the making of pink death bubba. So they're the 2 parents, death bubba and island pink. So when they breed together, they'll get 50% of each cultivar will shine. That's the generalization. Like when you breed 2 parents, you sort of get a half genetic makeup. Ones do be dominant in certain traits, so you can expect that. And then when you breed it again, it'll come out. If you backbreed it with its parents, it'll come back out and you'll get a 4:1 ratio in its second generation. And that's how you'd be strengthening it up. So if you do this 7 times, I'm going to show you that. I know I've got it. That was that little, see, I was talking before about how to see what dominance is. So if you want to see your segregate your, if it's homozygotic, which means if it's dominant or is recessive, you'll plant 4 seeds. And if 3 of them come out, that means it's dominant. If 1 of them come out, it's a recessive trait. And if you get a 1:2:1, that's a semi-dominant, or that's kind of normal. But yeah, that's a bit on homozygotic traits. I'll see if I can find the other stuff. With a dihybrid, that means you've got 2 different male and females, and a monohybrid, which means you've got the same, which could be an inbreed. So you're going to have a very good homozygotic chart scale, and it's going to be higher with heterozygotic because it's 2 parents. You have to stabilize them first. So if you were to do the seed test and that out, you'd find that if you plant 13 seeds, you'd get 4 that would be of a phenotype difference, and then 9 would be of the genotype class. But if you do with the homozygotic, you would find a less branching. It would less be not branching, widening. Variability is the word I was looking for. So you would plant 5 seeds and you'd find you'd only get 2 would be different. If you plant 10 seeds even, you'd two phenotypes class and you get 3 genotypes. So you get a lot more with your heterozygotic types than your homozygotic. And the way to do that is complete dominance, marker system. Marker-assisted breeding is what I do. There's 3 types. There's morphogenic, there's biological, which you do stains and stuff like that under the microscope, and then there's molecular, which you do, which is DNA, and you use your different machines in the labs to scan and tell you the numbers and all the processes for you, process all of the data for you. Yeah, so there's quite a few different things you can do in morphological marker-assisted breeding. But I'm not going to go into breeding because this is what I really want to cover in that breeding one. I've got a hell of a lot of stuff on it because I've bred for years and I love it. This is the chart, one of the charts. Once you're back crossing, like I was talking before, you're going to keep back crossing with one of the parents and look for the trait. Actually, there's an easier one. Johansson's pure line theory, that's to do with the homozygotic, so that's to do with inbreeding and how to get the best out of your cultivar. Pure line theory, that's that. So you want really homozygotic progeny turning out of your plants on the right here. Pure line theory by Johansson is progeny of a single homozygotic self-pollinated plant. So that's when you'll do your inbreeding or backbreeding with the same cultivar, with the same parent every time. So you'll plant the seed and then you'll breed off that, plant the seed and breed off that, which explains in this one. So you can read it all later on, but that's what that basically says. You get the offspring, progeny of them, which is that, and then breed with one of them. Progeny is that, backbreed, keep going through, and you should do it 7 times, and that should be stable. Oh, hang on. They reckon 9 times for their disease resistant. That was in this experiment. But you get it approximately 7 times to do it. I love breeding. It's so fun because you get so many different outcomes. You can get, like, I've got fruit tingles. For those in Australia, I've got fruit tingle lollies, dead set. And what's another really yummy ones? Bananas, like putting crushed bananas in a plate and mixing it. Licorice has come out. Very dominant gene in licorice. Yeah, anyway, that'll do. Get back shit. Get excited with breeding. I like it. So yeah, can terms be genetics? Yes, mate. If they are heterozygotic, there's a high chance that they will be. So all of these breeding programs that people do these days, I was speaking to one actually last week who ran a competition in the States, in California, and another one where they found out that the specimens weren't the best and there was really bad outcomes. And I was talking about the genetics. Well, why aren't they testing the heterozygotic and homozygotic characteristics and also for fungal and genetic resistance that's put into the lines? All they do is test for potency in terpenes, cannabinoids and terpenes. So yeah, there's so much more to breeding if you want to properly get into breeding. It's excellent. Great question. Thank you. Did I answer that one? What should we be feeding for this time? Yes, I think I did. Hey, Jeff, let me know if I didn't. I haven't done much foliar feeding. Pretty sure the bubbled teas are good for that. Mate, foliar feeding is rad. There's dermal tissue, there's the hydrothodes, there's the stomata, there's all sorts of places where the plant can absorb the liquids from the exterior of its, what's it called above the plant? Phyllosphere, which is around the leaves and stuff. Rhizosphere is around the roots. So your phyllosphere is around the leaves. So around that area is, yes, it's highly absorbs it. Like if you're doing deficiencies, you should go and fix them through foliar feeding. That's what I do. So you'll make a very weak solution of your, for instance, if you're going to do like one called Pink DB is, I think it's potassium. It's a potassium peak. So I can go and it'll pull out and show me if the potassium is being used. And then I'll know, all right, well, there's a high chance that potassium has been used in substrate. I'll give it a mild, probably a 80 to 100 ppm of potassium. That's when I will use synthetics because it's really hard to get an accurate dose of organics in potassium. So I will mix that up, and I know it's clean too, and I'll give it a mix, and within a few days I'll see a difference. And then if it didn't help, I'll do it in a few more days, and those deficiencies pull up. And that's the way before I do any type of diagnosing for disease or fungal or any type of virus problems that the plant has, because they'll always show those deficiencies. So I'll know after I've done low ppm doses of that, if it hasn't fixed it, I've got to look harder and maybe up my biologicals. Good on you, every day. Raymond Cow, how you going, mate? This is an open show, so we're just mainly got into nutrients and flushing and, yeah, homozygotic genes. Hey, there's Terence McKenna down under. How you going, Terence McKenna? Any questions? Drop a like. Oh, yep. Cheers, says Raymond. Mick, big ups to Terence. Always great support for the 420 community. Yes, he is. There's Hamos Outdoors. How you going, Hamos? Oh, a few questions. Canadian hash, okay. Hey, Lene, yeah. Overpowered. Here we go. Hamos Outdoors, CC. One of my biggest plants has not yet shown the double hair yet. The pistils or the anthers, as they're when anything else has no balls, no seeds, nor growing different. Should I give a bit more time or yank it? I'll definitely give it a bit more time. I think, well, if you're in the, you're not in the northern hemisphere because they're in midwinter, so you're in the southern hemisphere. Oh no, it has to reach solstice yet, mate, before it does its flip. It'll go through, it's been through through our winter solstice, and then it has to go through its equinox, and then the equinox is the time when it flips, and that's in the springtime, autumn. What month is that? When's the day change? March, I think. March, yeah. What's in between? It's 3 months after December, January 21, February, March. March 21 is when the equinox happens. So around then, or just a bit before, you should see pistils. Depends where you got it, in what amount of sunlight. If you've got it in full sun from horizon to horizon, that's when you'll start and it'll flip. But if you've got any blockage, you'll probably get flippage before it. Definitely leave it, mate. I would think. It looks healthy. Sounds like it is. You can always chop it down later. Use the stem for the big stem for a nice walking cane or something like that. See how Raymond says, see how the down-hanging stamen looks like bananas? That's why they're often called nanas, which often means testes. Well, I can show you why they're called bananas, actually. I'm sure I got some microscope footage of that. Let me have a look. This will do. Yeah, actually, there it is. Sweet. I found it for you. Who said that? I found it for you, Raymond. Present. Yeah, people call them nanas because under the microscope, they look like bananas. It's so funny. There's the anthers there. So that's the sepal that goes and protects it. A little bit of botany. The sepal that protects it. And here is your, as cannabis people know, the pistil, but it's called your perigonal bract. And that's the stigma and the style with your ovary. So when a pollen grain lands on the end of the stigma, it travels, puts out a little tube with a calcium signal at the front of it, and it detects where it's going to go all the way down, goes right down here around through the micropyle, and then in through one of its egg cells. There's 3 egg cells at the bottom, one in the center, which is the mother egg cell, which has triploid potential, and then 3 at the top. So if there's ever any incompatibility or any problems happening, it'll go through and it'll work its way through into the center. And that's how one of the ways where you can get your polyploid genetics forming. But yeah, that's why they're also called bananas. There's your that's your pollen grains, pollen theory. So inside of pollen grains, they're actually alive. That's why you've got to, once they expose to the air, they dry out and become inactive quite fast because they can shrivel up. Because, yeah, look how small they are. That's under a microscope. They all look different too. You got to put Vaseline to look under a microscope. There's a plant from breeding. So I would have collected all of the pollen off this. So I store the pollen in the sepals because it's the best way to store it. It stores for many years that way in cryogenic condition. Good on you, Raymond. Thanks for the question, mate. Have you seen them calling binary resin now instead of hash? Terence? All right. G'day. How you going, Rec? Hey, mate, have you read RX Green Tech's flushing trial impacting on the different flushing times and quality? Oh, I think I have. Yes, I have, my friend. Yes. This is the one that was heavily biased. I spoke about this a few weeks ago. It was terribly done. They put it out, that company did the test, and they found that they had no difference. They said that you can use their nutrients right up till harvest and it's fine. It was such a heavily biased result on this. I wouldn't believe this one at all, mate. I saw it on LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure, a while ago and spoke about it. It's not good. Just like, and I used this reference afterwards too. Can it? No. I can say because it's out in public. Oh, what's their firm? Can't remember it. It'll come to me. They're one of the big firms that now is international. They started over in Canada that had Tilray. And Tilray, so they've out of Canada mostly, and they're moved on to other countries now. They're taking the world. A few of their scientists, they put out this post that the reason why they hang their cannabis is to let all the resins and goodness drain into the buds. And you should have seen the amount of things that were written about that on LinkedIn, because I go through a few professionals, friends that are on LinkedIn, and it's just rot, mate. So please don't believe everything you read. It's good to really look into the facts and read up on the studies and what they did on it. And I'm pretty sure if this is the same one, that's what happened. It's terrible, because for those who have smoked for years and who have smoked clean cannabis, which is me, I've always used to do the high volume water flush, and now I do a salt flush. So I still flush the cannabis, so it's got to be of a standard. Otherwise, you're going to get head spins, head aches, throat aches, sore throats, different mouth problems that you wouldn't normally get from that cannabis if it was flushed properly. Plus, people use the carcinogenic PGRs, and if they're retained in it, and if you're volatilizing or combusting them, mate, that's how you get your carcinogenics, which is your cancer-causing agents, out of your cannabis. And that's what gives all these cannabis problems. When people are talking about, the doctors say cannabis psychosis and things, that's from the cannabis that's not flushed properly and stuff. You ever look what those people, they would have been smoking weed from the streets, bought from the streets, and they don't know what happened to it. They're just happy to have a smoke. Good on them. They're trying to do their health. But that's what happens with not flushing and not being of the quality of a high standard, medicinal standard. Good question, mate. A walking came. Vin, yeah, March 21. Thank you. That was the equinox. Hey, Mace, how you going, mate? Fantastic show, brother. Keep up the good work. It's in full sun. Oh, so he's getting horizon to horizon sun. So yeah, that shouldn't be showing any anthers yet, mate. Any pistils. You should, perigonal bract. You shouldn't be showing any of them. Your calyxes haven't formed because it hasn't reached the equinox. Once the photo period in the plant drops below 12 hours, which is in cannabis, it will start and go into its flowering cycle, which will produce florigen, which is the flowering hormone in cannabis. And that's what will start and initiate the cycle. It'll change with a few of its hormones, and it will continue through its flowering cycle, requiring different nutrients. So it's in full sun. So yeah, good on you for adding to that in. Just in another 15 minutes, you're still going. How you going, Aussie Autos? You're still going, mate. Been going 30 minutes. Yeah, here we go. Perigonal bracts perigonal bract is the calyx. I just showed a thing for it. I just showed a slide for it. I'll read the rest of what it says. I remember you saying that ages ago, and the name always sticked out because it's so odd, and the name pistil is so. The pistil's the anther. Yeah, I'll show you just to familiarise. I'll pull this, zoom this in a bit. There we go. Over on the left here. So the anther, AN, that's the banana. And the sepal, out here there's an S. So that's the bit that protects it. So over on the plant here, the big around the edge of it, that's the sepal. And that's the bit how I store all pollen inside of it, because when I want to use pollen, I'll open the sepal and it'll puff a bit of pollen, and that means it's all being kept fresh if stored in the right conditions. And down here, the perigonal bract, see how it's got B for bract, and then the stigma and the style. And then perigonal bract. Anyway, that's what, yeah, that's the little botany on it. Same as the calyx. Thanks for answering. Oh, good stuff, Amos. I'm glad it helped, mate. Sweet. Go Tassie, Rec. What was that done with organic? Oh hell. No, that cycling, that nutrient cycling was done by the that nutrient test was done by the company, and they would use nutrients. They were just saying, in other words, that you can use synthetics. Synthetics is good. Don't go organic. It's another marketing plot. So many of those marketing things. That's why, mate, everybody in the environment uses pesticides and herbicides, because it's marketed well, because they want instant results. That's not marketed well, that you should be using organics and getting biologicals and letting them do its work. And that's the best way that you'll get a better nutrients outcome from the plant. There's more antioxidants as well in your outcome. The growth balance differential hypothesis is a good paper that is about that. It's told you about the difference from growing with organics to synthetics. It's, yeah, really cool, mate. That's hilarious. Yeah, I got ripped off and sent that link by RX Green in the foot. See, there you go. Yes, it's marketing, mate. They would have sold a lot more things like formula, because everybody believes what marketing happens, and there's so much bro science around now that people would just say, yes, it's true. It sort of sucks, to be honest. Anyway, I'm just here to help where I can. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Who thought in that? Okay. Tilray using bro science, yes. It's marketing, mate. It's to do, they want to try and sell cannabis any which way they can. And that's just how much bro science is out there in the industry. Scientists can spin shit, and a lot of people can still believe it. It's very, very sad the way that YouTube is just sharing this bro science. I like grow science, but I've done a lot of university and experience in many decades. So it's, you know, I put in the effort for it. That's why I only smoke hash now, says Terence, because it's a cleaner product. Yes, it can be cleaner. They're the resin glands that you smoke, because it can be cleaner. There's no plant tissue, so to speak, in the trichomes, which is the keef powder, or that makes the hash. So it's a good way to smoke. And a lot of people, when they do a fail crop, they'll even turn it just into hash too. That's why hash got really popular in the States and things, because whenever you fail, they just did hash runs, and then they were extracting it and stuff like that. And it's quite popular. It's an easy way to grow. It's good on you, mate. It's good that you got the clean route that you've chosen. 1000%. Good on you, every day, for your support. Thank you. Well, here we go. 500 hash mineral. 500 milligrams THC per gram. That's very high. And 23 grams of CBG per gram in the oh, it's hash. I was thinking, wow, man, you got some potent bloody. Sweet. That's good. That's a problem too when people get their stuff tested. It's a bit of a, not a dog way, but you can actually sprinkle, because the testing bits only last for little tiny amounts, a few grams. So you can sprinkle some keef powder in to your result, and you can actually bump up the number. So people say, oh, look at my Pink Death Bubba, it's 40% THC. Well, won't be naturally, but you engineer, you altered, what's it called when you alteration things? Yeah, you went and did the bad thing and re-altered it. So it's horrible, the industry. So it's hard to believe numbers these days too. Just, it goes on your strength. That's why, just to try it. And if it agrees with me in that sense, I know it gets me there. It lasts about approximately an hour and a half in my system. I get that nice feeling. And then I start to think too much. I know that that's done its job. I know that from my vaporize. So I try to reduce the harm that it does to my body through combustion. Oh, thanks, Rag. Good on. Thank you for your support. It must have helped. It's nice to hear. Thank you. The hash is like an Anzac biscuit shortbread when baked. Oh, very nice. That sounds good, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, and it was Australia Day a few days ago. Cheers to all of the native people out there. Sorry that we invaded your land and are claiming it as our own. I feel so bad about that. It's your land. Thank you for letting us be here. And I can't believe that they're treating it such a day. It was Invasion Day. So cheers to the natives and all the abos and all the cool native folk out there. I do really support you guys and girls. Also smells very spicy. Rosemary. Oh, good. So it's still got the terpenes in it, which is a big part of the entourage effect, which a lot of medical cannabis in Australia has. The terpene profile is so low you can't smell it, meaning that all of those beneficial terpenes that were in there have been volatilized off and been lost from post-harvest practices. So if you've got your stuff that's still got the smell in it, you've got your flavonoids and your terpene profile is still a little bit activated. So good on you. Keeping the health factor high. Oh, yeah, sorry. Hey, Zuckerturd, how you going, Mark Zuckerturd? No worries, Terrence, it's cool. Any more questions, guys, girls? I've found the last season mixing in about 30% cocoa in my organic soil has worked and much better. Nice one. You've added a lot more aeration as well by doing that. So it depends on the amount of perlite or the balls, the gelatin, not gelatin, those round big ball things, depends on what type of aeration you've got on your substrate as to how much it would have helped too. So if you didn't have much, this would have helped heaps better. So you would have been getting a lot more, it would have dried out faster, but you're getting a faster stem growth and probably a bigger root ball. So good on you, you're finding a winning combination. It's all about experimenting. Remember, writing your stuff down is scientific and not writing it down is not scientific. That's the difference. So if you want to contribute, you write your stuff down and you can just go, oh, this is what changed. This is what changed. So that's what I do. I have one of those little calendars from the chemist, for instance, and they've got massive squares. And if I do anything, I'll just jot it into that. So I can look back and think what happened, what did I do, what did I add, what did I try? And yeah. Mythbusters actually says that, I think. The difference between science and non-science is writing it down. There you go. What's Jeff say? Been lurking and working before the heat. Coffee time. It's good on you. Hard work pays off, mate. Your answer saved my biggest plant from being executed. Excellent work, Amos. Feeding ferments. He's probably getting into his Korean cultures. Cultures are good because plants in the rhizosphere, it works off microbes. So the difference on microbes that you can get established in your rhizosphere, it's going to benefit your plants a hell of a lot better. So by doing fermentation and all sorts of lactose even, I don't support lactose. It's not a symbiotic culture. It tends to put up a very heavy biofilm and block a lot of other microbes out. So if I'm doing a tea, I might just put a little nip of it or a lid full of into like 5 litres, for instance, because I want the diversity of microbes. Jeff, do you use? That's a question for Jeff. All right. Or maybe I can chime in. No, it's just a Jeff. I want to help out other people. Shout out to Australia Day, says Terrence. Momedics. How you going, Momedics? Good, thanks to you seeing yourself, mate. I'm all right. Clay balls, yes, they're those round ball things that I was trying to think of. No more questions. All right, it's been going for 45 minutes. It's long enough. Have you got any more questions? Drop them now. I'll wait for the 30-second delay. Yes. Oh, I wrote it all down and the cops used it as evidence back in 87. Yeah, well, you got to, when you write it down, I suppose it's anything in it. Sorry about to hear that, mate. Yeah, it pays being in the ACT, I suppose. Yeah, it'll soon be legal somewhere, I hope. Everywhere in Australia, not somewhere, everywhere. So we can all just openly discuss it and it'll all be good. Because, yeah, oh, well, next week will be same thing again. It'll be an open chat. Thank you today for your suggestions on nutrients. If I can change the topic into nutrients, nutrient cycling, flushing, what the other thing? Homozygotic. So yeah, that's the 3 things I pulled out of today's show, so I can put that into the topic. So thank you for people in chat. Oh, hang on, there might be a question. Yeah, I'm only going to start that from now on too. But Jeff just mentioned why, yes. Well, you might have to be a little bit, maybe not be so long-handed is a good way to put it. It is also how long you've been, yes. It's hard to experiment and do the right thing. Yes, anyway, I don't want to. So next week is another open topic. So like last week was really cool with water. I really like that one. Yeah. If you've got any topics for next week, please keep them open because I'd love to hear about it and discuss it and show more slides because I didn't really show any slides this week. Yeah. Oh, Jeff's got something. Raymond Carl says, I did my first Hydro 97 with Kelly Orange. Oh, yeah. Clones with spider mites. Oh, very nice. Very good. So you learned right from day dot. Yeah. It's hard being biological, but at least you would have learned that you can work with them. Cheers, says Vin. All right, well, there's no real questions coming through. So I appreciate everybody for being in here. Please bring your stuff to next week, your topic, so we can have some sort of topic. Because it's really cool having things to talk about. You don't want to hear about my boring things. You want to see some real cool stuff and have some things answered, some light shined on some topics that have been brought up through your weeks of travels. Yeah, so I appreciate a lot your efforts and everybody. Very good. Off to a great start, says Jeff. Mikes says, see ya. So yes, see you. So next week, I'll see you same time next week. Appreciate all your questions again and your effort being in chat. Thank you heaps. Oh, Koski, mate, right at the end. Come next week, Koski, and today was on flushing, nutrient cycling, and on homozygotics, genetics. So next week, there'll be a open topic again, so please bring your discussions in and I can label the show accordingly. Thanks heaps. Good on you, Lene. Thank you, everybody. Quick one before we go. I've read a lot about conflicting insulating about using tap water for organic. The reason why tap water is it's got chlorine or chloramine, and they kill microbes, mate. So in Australia, leave your tap water out for 24 hours for it to evaporate, where in the States, good luck in getting rid of your triple hydrogen bond that has in chloramine. You've got to boil it off, and there's all sorts that you've got to do. So it's, yeah, in North America, no tap water, go through RO. In Australia, you can use it, but just leave it out for 24 hours. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Cheers again. It will be good when we come walk through our gardens online every week. Yes, mate, when it's legal in Australia, very soon it will be. We can show, I'll start doing my seed giveaway. It'll be fantastic. Everybody will be winning even more so. We'll have much more to discuss. It'll be fantastic. Thank you. All right, good on you, everybody, for rocking in and sharing your stuff, your nice words. Happy breeding. No, good breeding, happy growing, and good health to you all. Cheers, have a good day and good night. Bye-bye.